Portable monitors are a great tool for anybody that's constantly on the go or just has a small work area. The only problem with that is that you usually have to have other accessories like a keyboard and a mouse to really make everything work together. That's where something like the CrowView Note comes in, which essentially lets you turn anything into a laptop. It has a small USB hub, it has a monitor, keyboard, mouse, and even speakers all together, making it easy to take any device like your phone, a mini PC, a handheld PC, or pretty much anything you can hook up to a monitor and turn it into a workstation. So let's take a closer look at it and see if this is a good fit for you. So the first thing we need to talk about is going to be the price. So this is going to retail for $139 USD and it's going to be available on Kickstarter starting today. Now, if you go in right now, I think you can still get that super early bird price, which is going to drop it down to $119, but there's also going to be another discount for $129 if you do miss that. I think for that price, this is actually a pretty good deal considering everything you're going to be getting. Screen-wise, we have a 14-inch IPS 1920 by 1080p panel. It is only 60Hz, but it does have FreeSync support and it goes up to 300 nits of brightness. It has a 5000 mAh battery, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I was able to get a few hours of work done while I was charging my phone. It's made of a plastic, and while an all-aluminum shell would have been great for that premium feel, the plastic feels fine and it doesn't feel like it's going to be breaking or like a cheap product at all. Ports wise, we have one USB-A 3.2 port, one mini HDMI port, one full-featured USB-C port, which is going to be our main interface, one Type-C 5-volt power out port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and one DC 3.5mm port. This last one I wish would have also been USB-C just to make it easier and carry just one charger, but that's not what we got, so we have to make do with the included charger. Okay, so let's take a look at what's in the box, starting off with the charger. And this is one of my biggest disappointments because I really wish this would have been USB Type-C just to make it easier so that I could just take my phone charger or basically what everything else uses to charge with me and not have to carry a separate charger. Now, the battery life is okay, so I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal, but it would have been nice. Next up, we have these two connection boards for a Raspberry Pi 5 or 4 or pretty much any of the other copies that are out there. This just plugs into the side and provides power to that Raspberry Pi. So if you're an enthusiast and you like to mess around with those, this is going to be a pretty easy way of doing that because you don't have to open anything up. They also provide this Jetson Nano board, which isn't as common as the Raspberry Pi, but it is nice that it was included. You can definitely tell they know who their target audience is, and it is pretty cool that you don't have to go out and make separate purchases just to make these work. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Raspberry Pi or a Jetson Nano, so it's not going to be featured today, but I will do a follow-up later on when I get one. The monitor itself just looks like a Chromebook or a laptop, so it's not really going to look out of place if you were to use this at a coffee shop or in an office. All of the ports are on the sides towards the back of the device, so they're pretty convenient and they're not really going to get in the way of anything. On the left side, we have a USB-A, mini HDMI, and USB-C power out ports, which is where you're going to connect that board into. Once you connect this, it's actually on there pretty good, so there's really no worries about knocking it out on accident or anything like that. And I also don't think it's going to be damaging any of the ports. I do wish there was a more discreet way of having this connected because it's gonna look a little bit weird just having this off of the side, but that would have added a lot of thickness to the overall build, so I guess you kind of have to sacrifice certain things. I also wish the mini HDMI port was a full-size HDMI port, but that's something that can be easily remedied by just using an adapter or just picking up a mini HDMI to HDMI cable. On the right side, we have the rest of our I/O, where we have that barrel jack, which I already talked about, and then we also have another full-size USB-A port, our headphone jack, and our full-featured USB-C port. In my case, that's the one that got the most use just because it's the most convenient way to plug things into this. On the bottom, we have our two speakers, which are just fine. They're okay, they're nice that they're there, and it is a convenience thing, but these aren't really going to blow anyone away. I'll do an actual test later on in the video, and same thing goes for the microphone. Now the microphone, honestly, I didn't even really bother with it because it doesn't really pick up anything unless you're being very, very loud. So it's just one of those things that if you're in a pinch and you really need something to record with, it might help you out, but I wouldn't really rely on it. As far as connecting this to another device, we have two choices. The easiest one, and the one I think most people are going to be using, is going to be to use a USB C to C cable, plug it on the side, and then plug it into the device that you're going to be using. If you're using something like the Ally X that has two USB-C ports, you can just plug it into one while you charge the device with the other one. Or a mini PC is going to work the same way. As long as you have the device connected to power and the other port connected straight to the monitor, you're not going to have any issues getting everything to work. Now, the issue comes in when you have a device like the Steam Deck that only has one USB-C port, or maybe you have a device that just isn't even USB-C compatible, you just have an HDMI out. What you can do is use a USB-C to HDMI dock with some USB connections. I have a Unitech dock here, but it can really be any one as long as it has these ports and ideally power delivery. And what you're going to be doing with this is plug this into your phone or the Steam Deck or whatever other device you're using that you don't want to run just on battery life. And then you're going to take a USB-A to A cable and connect one to the dock, and the other one you're going to be connecting on the left side of the monitor. And it does have to be on this side because we're also going to take a mini HDMI cable to HDMI and connect that to the back of the dock. And that's how you get the full functionality of the keyboard, trackpad, and monitor without relying on just a USB-C connection. Unfortunately, the USB-C connection on the left side is only going to be for power out, so it's not going to support any of the peripherals, so you will need that A to A cable to get that working. But I don't think most people are going to be using anything like that. I think the majority of users for this are going to be using like a handheld PC or an Android device or a Raspberry Pi connected directly there. So this really shouldn't be an issue for most users, but I still wanted to make sure I covered it. Now, the USB-C connection on the right side does have power out, so it will provide some power to your devices, but it's not going to be enough to power your phone, for example, when you're putting it under heavy load. What it is going to do is basically just help that battery last longer so it doesn't trickle down as fast, but it will also eat up the battery of the monitor itself. I wish there was a way to just turn it off so that you don't have to share the battery between both of them, but from what I can tell and what I was able to find, that's not an option as of right now. If that changes, I will make sure to update it in the comments, but for now, let's just do a quick demonstration of what it looks like when you actually connect it. And that's pretty much it. In my case, it was already powered on, so as soon as I opened it, it was good to go. Now, unfortunately, when you close it up, it's not going to go into sleep, so you do need to make sure you power this down whenever you're done using it. If not, that battery will trickle away. Even though the display isn't running, it's still powered on. One of the cool things is, though, that it is hot swappable, so if you need to switch between devices, just go ahead and unplug it, plug in the new one, and that's it. You're good to go. It's going to pick everything up. And I just think this is a really convenient way of getting more out of the devices you already have. But let's save those final thoughts for the end of the video. For now, let's talk about the quality of the keyboard and the trackpad. Keyboard wise, we have a full-size QWERTY keyboard, which is going to be laid out for Windows primarily, but you could use this on an iPhone or even an iPad. It's just not going to be as compatible with those. It does have all of the hotkeys you need to be able to adjust the settings within the monitor itself, as well as with Windows like fast forward and all of that. If you hold down Function plus F7, you can go into the monitor settings, and then you can navigate using F8 and F9. In here, you can adjust things like brightness, the color settings, and even turn on things like FreeSync. The keys themselves feel pretty good, about on par with what you would expect out of a budget level laptop. They have a good amount of travel and feel good to press down. The only downside to this keyboard is that if you do push down the middle, there is some bend, but I had to push on it pretty hard to be able to see that, so it's not something you're ever going to notice with just regular use. Speaking of regular use, I tried to repeatedly mash on the keys to see if they would get stuck or anything like that, and I didn't have any issues with that, so I'd say the keyboard is pretty good. I mean, it's a lot better than what I would have expected on a $140 monitor. The trackpad, on the other hand, is okay. There's really nothing special about it. It's very functional and it works fine. It has gesture support, which is really nice to see, and you can just tap on it to get an input, no need to press it all the way down, but right clicks can be a little bit finicky sometimes. What I mean by that is I had to make sure that I was all the way off to the right so that it wouldn't register as a left click. That got a little bit annoying when I was trying to play certain games, but for most applications and everyday use, it really shouldn't be a problem. I don't think anybody's really out here trying to play a bunch of RTS or shooters using a trackpad anyway, so for the function this is meant for, it's okay. So next up, let's talk about the screen. Screen quality wise, it's pretty good. It's an IPS screen, it has an anti-reflective coating, so you don't really have to worry about glaring and any of that. And the colors look pretty good. It has 100% sRGB coverage, So all in all, for the price of it and what it's offering, you can't really complain too much about the screen. And the fact that it has FreeSync is another big benefit to it, because that way you don't really have to worry about screen tearing. But I am going to be nitpicky here. And one of the things that I wish they would have done is giving this a smaller bezel. I understand this is going to help protect the screen and all of that good stuff, but it gives it a little bit of a dated feel. And I really think that attention to detail with things like bezel size and just overall style would help to reach a lot more potential buyers. Another thing is I wish this was more than 60 Hertz. It would have been great if this was 100, but even 75 would have gone a long way to just make things feel a little bit snappier. Pairing off that FreeSync with the high refresh rate would have been great. But that's just my personal wish list. As things are right now, I think this is a really good panel for what it's meant to be used as an everyday thing, kind of an interface for your OS, and to expand the capabilities of your devices. This was never marketed as a gaming monitor, so that's just me saying, hey, this would have been really cool. Okay, so final component I want to talk about is going to be the speakers, and these are not that great. They're on the bottom, which is already not ideal, but the sound is just going to bounce off the table or desk, so not a huge deal there. The problem is they're kind of echoey, and let's just take a listen, and fair warning, this is going to be louder than the audio so far, so please adjust your volume accordingly. Handheld PCs are exploding in popularity, and that's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. And that's awesome because these devices are pretty amazing. But there's only so much you can do with integrated graphics. That's when an external GPU comes in. So today we're going to be taking a look at the 1X Player's 1X GPU, which promises to be an all-in-one GPU solution. So these are by no means horrible, they're just not great, and they're a little bit echoey, but I think that's more to do with the actual body of the monitor itself than the quality of the speakers. But overall, it's not really something I would want to have in the background to listen music with. But if I'm just playing a video and I want to listen to the dialogue or just need speakers in general, it's nice that they're there. That way I don't have to carry something else with me just to be able to have an audio interface. So let's wrap the video up, and for me the big question is, who is this for? And I think this is going to be for anybody that has the need of a portable monitor that has everything already attached to it. Somebody that does a lot of work on their phone and they don't want to transfer things over to a laptop, they just want the convenience of plugging this right in and being able to get their work done anywhere. Or somebody that has a handheld PC like the Steam Deck or the Ally and they want to add more functionality to those pretty capable PCs. This is going to be perfect because now you're essentially turning those devices into a laptop. So if you do want to do more than just game on them and you want to add that extra functionality, this is a great fit. Not to mention Raspberry Pi enthusiasts, which come up with some of the craziest uses for those things, and this would make a lot of those things a lot easier. So while I know this isn't the first product of its kind, I do think this is a really cool product, and if you do want to support it, like I said earlier, it is on Kickstarter now, and for right now you can actually still pick up that super early bird discount, which would bring it down to $119. After that it goes up to $129, and then the final retail price is going to be $139. Is it perfect? No, it definitely has room for improvement, but it doesn't really have any major deal breakers. And I think for the most part, if you are interested in a product like this, you already kind of made up your mind. And if you do pick this one up, I don't think you're going to be disappointed for what it has to offer. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and that the video was helpful. If you have any questions or any comments in general, make sure to leave them down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out and I really appreciate it. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next one.